Denny Hamlin is probably one of the most legendary drivers on the NASCAR grid. However, he hasn't deserved the respect that he is due. Although he's had a successful career and has no plans to stop anytime soon, with 48 Cup Series victories. The last thing he needs to prove to the world is that he can win the championship. Regardless of this feature, does Hamlin deserve more respect than what he's given currently? Last week, rumors started to circulate about the Joe Gibbs Racing driver regarding his sponsorship. His longtime sponsor, FedEx, has entered the final year with JGR in 2023. While Hamlin and FedEx will likely resign in 2024 and beyond, it's still a bitter reminder that Hamlin could be thinking about retirement in the following period. While this period won't come in the following 2 to 3 years, that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll see 10 more years of Hamlin and his greatness in the sport. Hamlin is currently 42 years old, and his journey in the Cup Series started in 2006. With him starting in 2023 at Joe Gibbs Racing with a new teammate in Ty Gibbs, Hamlin will mark the 18th season of his participation in the Cup Series. When a driver is present in the league for so long, one can't help but take the driver's participation in NASCAR for granted. Obviously, when a driver is around the age that Hamlin is, rumors and talks about retirement start to emerge. And on top of that, the fact that the partnership between FedEx and Joe Gibbs Racing is ending at the end of the 2023 season is only adding fuel to these talks. That is why Hamlin has been involved in these talks, but he's been able to shut them down by adding that he plans to resign with his team beyond 2024, making his presence in NASCAR known. As of now, Hamlin isn't struggling with his age, and just because he is 42 years old, it doesn't mean that he has fallen massively. True, the 2018 season has been winless for him, but in 2019 and 2020, Hamlin was able to rack up 13 wins. The following 2 seasons were moderate, to say the least, with Hamlin scoring just 2 wins apiece in each. But what's even more important for him is that he managed to advance to at least the round of 16 of each year. Therefore, consistency matters, and quite frankly, if it hadn't been for the Hail Mary move of Chastain in Martinsville, Hamlin would have participated in Championship 4 in Phoenix. Still, one couldn't help but wonder why doesn't Hamlin receive the respect he totally deserves. After all, his consistency is what brought him success in the last 2 years. And although he is due to win the championship, that doesn't mean that he is done for good and is just a static figure in NASCAR. But with the recent form in 2021 and 2022 showing a decline compared to the previous years, although not as big as one would need to declare Hamlin a washed-up driver, the question has to be asked, is Hamlin's prime slowly but surely coming to an end? In order for us to understand this question, we need to wait and see how the following 2 seasons will unfold. If Hamlin continues in his downward trend, it would be hard to defend his case, and he will probably retire much sooner than everybody originally anticipated. However, if he wins a championship in the following 2 years, or at least manages to qualify for the Championship 4, the story behind him would be much different. Let's take a small dive into Hamlin's history and see what kind of driver Hamlin is, and why he isn't receiving the respect he is due from NASCAR. His statistics say a lot about his profile as a NASCAR driver. He currently sits 17th all-time with 48 wins, something that we mentioned earlier in this video. Among those wins are 3 Daytona 500s, 3 Southern 500s, and 1 Coca-Cola 600. Obviously something is missing here, and Hamlin would be more than delighted to obtain it later in his career, and that is the Indianapolis win. His Daytona 500 victories are tied for the 3rd most of any driver, while his Southern 500 wins are tied for the 4th most. Pretty impressive resume so far, right? But there is much more to it. Hamlin is one of only 3 drivers, Sterling Marlin, Richard Petty, to win the Daytona 500 in back-to-back years. This feat was achieved by Hamlin in 2019 and 2020. Still, one of the darkest marks, if not the darkest mark, in Hamlin's career is probably the fact that he's never won a championship in NASCAR. He was close on multiple occasions, such as in 2010 when Hamlin had one of the most legendary seasons behind his name, winning 8 races and looking poised to win the title. However, a late-season collapse allowed Jimmie Johnson to grab his 5th straight championship, leaving Hamlin without the most elite prize in NASCAR. Since the introduction of the current playoff format, Hamlin has made the Championship 4 times. This was enough for him to be claimed as the best driver in the sport and the title favorite in 2019 and 2020. Despite him being the favorite to win the championship, he was never able to win the final race of the year. And with that feat itself, Hamlin has distanced himself yet again from the title in NASCAR, and the following 2 seasons haven't been really productive either. Hamlin could achieve one feat that will be both bitter and sweet at the same time, and that's being the greatest NASCAR driver to never win a championship. Quite honestly, he'll find himself in a situation where he doesn't know whether to cry or cheer himself up if he doesn't win the title in the next couple of seasons. As of now, he sits behind Junior Johnson as a NASCAR driver with the most wins in the Cup Series without a title, with Johnson having 50 wins. Hamlin should move ahead of Johnson within the next 2 seasons, and quite honestly, we hope that he'll be able to grab the title in 2023 or 2024, and therefore put a serious stamp on his impressive resume in NASCAR. Obviously, Hamlin is also one of the most unpopular and hated drivers on the grid. Hamlin is the co-owner of 23XI Racing, with the other owner being Michael Jordan, and he's been defending the notorious Bubba Wallace on multiple occasions, trying to justify his reckless actions. Of course, speaking from marketing and PR point, this makes complete sense, as the last thing a co-owner would want to do is throw his own driver under the bus. However, Wallace's actions were pretty hard to justify, as we saw at Las Vegas Motor Speedway against Kyle Larson. There have been drivers who were popular before they started winning races, such as Chase Elliott and Dale Earnhardt Jr. However, other drivers like Kyle Larson, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Sr. saw their popularity grow along with their wins. For Hamlin, this wasn't the case, and despite being one of the biggest drivers since the mid-2000s, Hamlin has never gained a large and supportive following behind his name. If you want to have a proper look at the fan base of Hamlin, just look at the fans on race day. The Hamlin merchandise is massively lacking, and while Hamlin's former teammate Kyle Busch has his own merchandise trailer and other peers dominate a large portion of their respective teams' trailers, Hamlin's merchandise is relegated to a small corner of the Toyota team trailer. It goes without saying that Hamlin is not popular, and therefore the respect he deserves isn't there. Obviously, marketing and media are two things you want to have on your side, and that's something that Hamlin doesn't have or hasn't pursued obtaining. If he fails to win a title, he'll fail to join the no-title club of Mark Martin, who had a massive fan base despite not winning a championship with 40 wins. And to be frankly honest, Hamlin has been involved in a lot of feuds and conflicts with other drivers, and the most recent one was with Joey Logano in 2013 and 2019. In 2021, Hamlin was on the way to winning in Martinsville, but was wrecked by Alex Bowman, as Hamlin went in to confront him in a similar manner that Wallace did with Larson. Stuff like this never helps grow your reputation on the positive side of things. And what's even more traitorous is the fact that Bowman was celebrated for crashing into Hamlin, who was perceived as the villain in NASCAR at this point. Hamlin had an altercation with Ross Chastain at Pocono in 2022, and received a fair share of boos for his actions as well. Even in Martinsville, Hamlin was booed again after Chastain did the Hail Mary move, and kicked him out of the playoffs. Obviously, Hamlin doesn't have the media and fans on his side, which is a massive detriment as to whether you'll be respected as a driver or not. What do you think about Denny Hamlin? Let us know in the comments below.